So good morning to you all. Today we'll be discussing about the overall preparation strategy for economic and social development. The lecture overall will be divided into different components. First of all, I'll be giving you an insight about what do you mean by economics and what are the expectations of this subject from the students. Then I'll be discussing it with you the syllabus pertaining to prelims exam, the syllabus pertaining to mains, and finally we'll also be discussing about what should be the key points which all the students need to follow and what are the points which students should not follow either. That is very important. So overall, in the next 2 hours, we'll be discussing all about economics. What are the expectations of UPSC from the students as far as this subject is concerned? I think most of you must have studied this particular subject either in your graduation or before that, or even not during that. When you have planned for preparing for UPSC, at least you have gone through NCERT. So when we talk about economics, largely it talks about how best we are in managing resources. When we talk about resources, in relative sense, resources are limited. Whether it's you, whether it's me, whether it's Mr. Mukesh Ambani, or whether it's anybody else, resources are scarce, limited. So when resources are scarce, resources are limited, what we need to do? We need to make optimum or best use of those resources in order to satisfy our unlimited wants. We want each and everything. When you move, when you travel from one place to another, and on both sides of the roads, you see beautiful pictures, you see, luxury cars, you see, different set of goods and commodities which you desire to have with you. ये भी मेरा हो जाए, ये मेरे पास होता तो अच्छा रहता, but then मन करता है कि मेरे पास होता, but then due to limited resources, we cannot have it at that particular point of time. But then we always try to increase the base of resources with us so that as much as possible, those unlimited wants can be fulfilled. When we were living on a rental flat, so we were desiring if we could have 1 BHK flat in Pune, that would have been great. We worked hard, we contributed in the economic activities, we earned, and then we went in for 1 BHK. Further we worked hard, and then our desire to have 2 BHK also got fulfilled. And that's what goes on and on. So wants are unlimited. Wants are unlimited. Today, when you do not own a house, तो आपका मन करता है कि 1 BHK होता तो अच्छा होता. आपके पास 1 BHK हुआ, फिर आपका मन करता है यार एक 2 BHK होता तो अच्छा होता, थोड़ा स्पेशियस चाहिए, वो भी हुआ। और इस ऐसा नहीं हुआ कि किसी ने आपको फ्री कर दिया, यू कंट्रीब्यूटेड टू द इकोनॉमी and you contributed in the economic activities and you earn, and then you own that 2 BHK or 3 BHK, and life does not stop there also, you proceed on कि एक बंगलो होता तो अच्छा। Wants are unlimited and it will always be unlimited because human being is never satisfied. But then at a particular point of time, resources in relative sense may be scarce. Resources are scarce to you, resources are scarce to me, resources are scarce to the overall economy, resources are scarce even to Mr. Ambani and Mr. Adani. At one hand, we struggle with limited resources. On the other hand, we expect and desire to have each and everything under the sun and the sky. If you can ask me, that's why this morning, on this auspicious day, what forced you to be here early morning? So answer will be that I'm passionate about teaching economics. So don't you think that will not be the right answer? The right answer is, I'm here for sake of resource in the form of money. And the reasons are obvious. I'm also considering that whatever resources I do have now are limited. Today morning, if I'll ask you all that what did you have in the breakfast? So somebody will say, I had light pohe. Somebody will say, Parle-G biscuits. Somebody will say, idli sambar. Somebody will say different thing. Somebody will even say that I was not having money even to have breakfast. Then my question to you will be, while coming to this particular place, there was a beautiful hotel called JW Marriott. Why didn't you go there and you could have your breakfast there? Now tell me, don't you think you desire to dine? Don't you think you desire to take breakfast? But what forces you not was limited resources. So the reason why I am here, the reason why you had pohe, or you had vada sambar, or you had idli sambar was limited resources. So the reason for each and everything, why a farmer struggle either during sunshine or during rainy seasons, a driver driving a public transport, a hawker selling fruits and vegetables, your parents going to offices and going to the respective businesses each and every day. The reason why this organization called Unique Academy exists, the reason why I am here, the reason why all of you are here, the crux, the answer to all these questions will be limited resources. We are struggling with the limited resources, and by going for different activities, we are trying to increase the base of resources what we are having now, so that we can also enjoy comforts and luxury. So overall, when we talk about economics, economics is all about how best we can manage these limited resources as an individual, as an organization, as an economy, so that unlimited wants of an individual, unlimited wants of an organization, unlimited wants of an economy can be fulfilled. I'm giving you different insights about the application of this particular subject, and you'll agree with me. Sometimes, let's say, you might have experienced this, that you went to a restaurant wherein you ask for a vada pav and you pay 15 rupees for it. But then when you consume it, you are not satisfied and you think that your 15 rupees is a waste. You are highly dissatisfied. You will start telling your friends that taste of the vada pav was not good, and it seems that you have wasted your 15 rupees. Don't you think? I mean, this must have happened with you in one or the other set of goods. Now, why this reaction was from your side? This reaction was because of the fact that 15 rupees means a great to you. If you could have got the value of the worth of the 15 rupees which you have spent, then definitely you were a satisfied customer. But now, since you feel that you have not got the worth of that 15 rupees, you think that you have wasted your 15 rupees. Now, there is a second story behind it also. If that vada pav could have sold to you at 5 rupees, the same vada pav you would have consumed, and you might be satisfied then, because you paid a less price. So what does here means? Here means that, here it particularly means that, you were the consumer is altogether price conscious, and whenever he spends certain amount of money, he always expects that, he should get the worth of the money. If the same question I asked to you all, why this demo lecture? Before taking admission, before paying for a particular service, why all of you are attending demo lecture? The reasons are very simple. You also expect that whatever the money you will be putting in, you should get the worth of the money which you will be spending. And that's why before taking this service, before taking admission, you should assess different teachers coming here with this platform, that whether you will be getting the worth of the money which you are going to spend in the next 1 year or not. Am I right? Do you agree with this? That's what, and this is not wrong. This is completely, I agree with you since I am teaching you economics. These are simply correct on the basis of economic principles. That as a customer, as a consumer, you want that whatever money you will be spending here, you should get the worth. And that's why today you are attending demo lecture. Why you are doing this? Because 1 lakh of rupees means a great value to you. So when you are also struggling with limited resources, you will always like that whatever resources you have, you will always like to make the optimum use of it. Have you ever experienced that you went to buy vegetables, a seller selling vegetable at 20 rupees per kg? Similarly, at that particular point of time only, a voice enters your ears, and that voice is about a seller selling same vegetable at 15 rupees per kg. Do you know? You will forget that vegetable at 20 rupees, and you look forward, first of all, that who is the seller who is selling same vegetable at 50 rupees per kg. Don't you think this happens? Now, what does this mean? This particularly means that the consumer is altogether price centric, and whatever resources he or she has, he always tries to make the best or optimum use. That's why before buying the vegetable at 20 rupees per kg, he'll like to see the vegetable which is being sold at 15 rupees per kg. And that's what a normal consumer does. So overall, when I'm talking about, when we are discussing about economics, I mean, we need to understand that it's all about limited resources. Limited resources and unlimited wants. Have you ever experienced some celebrations at your home? And those celebrations, let's say there was a function at your home. So often when there is a function, I mean, we expect that people will be coming with gifts. Though we do not want, but then people comes with gifts also. So after the function is over, do you know in the mid of the night there is parliamentary discussion at your home? And what does the parliamentary discussion all about? Kisne kya laya? Am I right or not? This happens or not? And there is altogether discussion also कि हमने उनको ऐसा दिया था, वे ऐसा लेकर आए. What is this pointing towards? Pointing towards limited resources. We are not here to discuss what is right and wrong. We are simply discussing what happens. So if somebody is questioning, somebody is, I mean, investigating, somebody is monitoring, I mean, that is simply for the reason that he or she is struggling with limited resources. When you give someone, so what do you write? To, and you will write from like this. What was the need to write from? When you give something, so you write now to, and you write from also, but the from, the size of the word called from is very, I mean, it should be bold, italic, so that to whom you are giving, he can easily say, see, कि तुम दे रहे हो. भाई बताने की क्या जरूरत है कि मैं दे रहा हूं? क्यों बताना पड़ता है? आज तुम्हारी बारी है, कल मेरी बारी आए तो तोहफे की कीमत नहीं देखी जाती ना, तोहफे देने वाले की नीयत देखी जाती है. बट हम क्या देखते हैं? कौन कितने का लाया. Don't you think you feel very happy when a guest comes at your home and while leaving, he gives you a 2000 rupees currency note? कितने अच्छे. This happens or not? This happens. So what are these? What I'm trying to tell you, that either you consider the economics from an individual household, or you consider a firm or a producer or an organization, or you consider, I mean, a country or an economy. I mean, at each and every level, I mean, these economic units are struggling with something called limited resources. So the central problem being faced by any economy is not garibi, is not berozgari, is not महंगाई, but the central problem being faced by any economy is limited resources. If any economy is having abundant resources, then I think all such problems called inflation, unemployment can be resolved. But then the reality is, overall, not only from an economic perspective, but in the environment, the resources are limited. See, the challenges of the economy, the challenges, problem being faced by the economy are never static. Is continuously changing also. The problem being faced by Indian economy in 1950 was different. The problem being faced by Indian economy today is different. So with changing challenges, changing problems being faced by the society, the solutions also need to be changed in accordance. We need to come out with the alternatives. We need to come out with a different set of resources so that the emerging challenges can be resolved. So, let's say if a particular geographical zone of India is facing chronic poverty, then don't you think this resource base can help it? If farmers are committing suicide in the country, don't you think it will be providing, delivering resource base, that problems also can be resolved? So what I told you, that these are challenges, poverty, unemployment, these are different challenges being faced by the economy. But if a particular economy has abundant resources, so all these problems can be resolved. And that's why I told you the central problem being faced by any economy is not poverty, is not unemployment, but limited or scarce resources. Now, when we see the context, then what we need to do? We do have poverty also. We do have unemployment also. We do have inflation also. Food prices are increasing too much. We do have problem of irrigation infrastructure also. Then what we need to do? And there are multiple challenges, but resources are limited. Similarly, for the individual also, I do have 50 rupees in my pocket, but then मेरा मन करता है कि I need to have, non-veg thali. मेरा मन करता है I need to have, idli sambar also, samosa also, jalebi also. Each and everything I'm seeing on the restaurant, man karta hai, I need to have a bite of a taste of each and everything what I'm seeing each and another in and around. But don't you think it's possible? It's not possible. Yes, it's not possible. Why? For the simple reason is that resources within me is limited. Man karta hai. Because I am a rational consumer. So for an individual, when you only have 50 or 20 rupees with you, and your wants are unlimited, you want to have idli sambar also, you need to have masala dosa also, you need to have aloo paratha also, each and everything what you are saying, you were willing to have. But then a rational consumer will decide considering the resource base. So the rational consumer will try to now prioritize, will try to make choices out of several alternatives. He will see that in 50 rupees, how he can manage his whole day. So he might go for pohe, he might go for idli sambar, he might go for parleji depending upon what priorities he or what choices he is making, to consume out of that 50 rupees. Similarly, for the economy and at an economy level also, at a country level also, since the country is facing a lot of challenges, lot of problems, so the country needs to decide that out of these limited resources, what should be our first priority? What should be our second priority? Whether we should make poverty elevation to be the topmost, or whether unemployment to be the topmost, whether irrigation infrastructure to be topmost, whether making defense weapons to be topmost, based on the country's needs and requirements, based on the resource base which the country is having, the country will go for prioritizing. Country will go for making choices. So what you do generally, when you do have limited resources, when you do have unlimited wants, so what you will be doing? You will be forced to make priorities or not? Definitely yes. You will be forced to make priorities. You will be forced to make choices, because you cannot have each and everything with these limited resources. So whether you want to have pohe or whether you want to have idli sambar, each and everything need to be decided based on what resources you are having. So remember one thing, economics teaches you how you are making optimum use of these limited resources in order to satisfy your unlimited wants. I'm again repeating, economics teaches you, helps you in making optimum use of these limited resources so that you can satisfy your unlimited wants. And one of the ways which I taught you was making priorities and choices. All of you in line with me, dear students? Are you able to understand, all of you? Now, coming back, giving you more insights about this particular subject. In economics, largely, we try to classify this particular subject into two broader areas called microeconomics and macroeconomics. When we talk about microeconomics is the study of individual household, individual firm, individual consumer, individual producer, and the different factors which influence the consumer behavior or producer behavior. So under microeconomics, we generally study theories pertaining to consumer and theories pertaining to producer. So we'll be studying law of demand. We'll be studying what is the meaning of utility, what is the meaning of diminishing marginal utility. We'll be studying what are the factors responsible for influencing demand. What do you mean by elasticity of demand? What are the different types of elasticity of demand? What are price? What do you mean by price elasticity of demand? Income elasticity of demand, cross elasticity of demand. Then you'll also be studying what are the degrees of price elasticity of demand. When you say perfectly elastic demand, what does this mean? When you say perfectly inelastic demand, what does this mean? What do you mean by relatively elastic? What do you mean by relatively inelastic? We'll also be studying different type of costs which influence a producer or different type of costs which influence production level. What do you mean by explicit cost? What do you mean by implicit cost? What do you mean by economic cost? What do you mean by opportunity cost? What do you mean by social cost? What do you mean by private cost? This is a studying cost from one parameter. The other can be, what do you mean by short-term cost? What do you mean by long-run cost? What do you mean by average cost? What do you mean by average fixed cost, average variable cost? Then under microeconomics, we'll be forced to study different market structure called features of a competition, monopoly, monopolistic, oligopoly. All these are subject matter of microeconomics. So largely when we talk about microeconomics, all these factors influence an individual consumer. These factors will be influencing an individual production pattern. So whenever any study pertaining to in economics, any study pertaining to individual consumer, individual producer will be the subject matter of microeconomics. But now, whenever we are studying consumption pattern or consumption demand of all consumers in the country, but when we are studying the consumption and production pattern of all the producers in the country, so here my study is not only limited to one individual consumer or one individual producer, but my study is pertaining to all consumers and producers in the economy, and that's why that will become the subject matter of macroeconomics. So in case of micro, our study was limited to an individual consumer, our study was limited to an individual producer, but in macroeconomics, our study involves all consumers in the country, all producers in the country. It means we are focusing upon aggregate demand, aggregate supply. If I ask you, or if you ask me, that's why in India food prices are increasing, why India is facing current account deficit, why India's fiscal deficit is very, very high, why India's domestic currency called rupee is depreciating to a large extent, why all the major countries' currencies have depreciated in the last few months against US dollar. So the regions of all these challenges lies not in microeconomics, but macroeconomics. So when I'm saying unemployment is not to be studied from one individual, but unemployment need to be studied from the country perspective. When I'm saying inflation or when I'm saying food prices increasing, so these need to be studied from the country perspective, not from one individual. When I'm studying our currency is depreciating, our currency is not in context of one individual, but our currency is in context of all in the country. So the overall study here is focused towards larger part of the economy. It's not focused towards one individual. And that's why that becomes macro subject. So going by your syllabus will be largely focusing upon macroeconomics, but then in order to understand macroeconomics better, we need to have certain clarity about concepts related to microeconomics also. So initially, when I'll be starting your lectures, I'll be discussing, certain concepts related to microeconomics as to, definition, application where the theories of microeconomics need to be applied. I'll be teaching you law of demand, elasticity, income elasticity. How does the concepts of income elasticity is applied? How does the concept of, price elasticity of demand is applied? Because at times UPSC has asked questions, one or two questions, from microeconomics as well. We'll also be studying, different types of cost, like social cost, private cost, because at times UPSC can come out with the questions. You must have, if you look at the question, previous year's question paper, then you find that there was a question on opportunity cost also. So what does this mean? Again, the importance of microeconomics is there. So I'll be starting with the microeconomics, and then larger part of our lectures will be focused upon macro and Indian economy. Macro and Indian economy. In macroeconomics, I'll be teaching you the scope and importance of macroeconomics. Then we'll be moving towards macroeconomic aggregates. Then under it, we'll be talking about national income, how national income is calculated. What were the old methodology of calculating national income? What is the new method of calculating national income? What are the different methods being followed in India in order to calculate national income? What is product method? What is income method? What is expenditure method? What is the limitations of GDP as a measure of economic welfare? Then we'll also be talking about different indices called Human Development Index and other indices which are part of, growth and development. Once we are covered with, national income topic called national income, then we'll be talking about inflation. Under inflation, we'll be talking about meaning, types of inflation, different forms of inflation, like what do you mean by creeping inflation? What do you mean by stagflation? What do you mean by hyperinflation? What do you mean by reflation? What do you mean by demand pull inflation? What do you mean by cost push inflation? So all these things will be studying under, inflation. At the same time, we'll also be talking about how do we measure inflation? How do we measure inflation? What do you mean by WPI? What do you mean by CPI? What do you mean by GDP deflator? Then we'll also be talking about impact of inflation or effects of inflation. Effects of inflation on debtors, effect of inflation on creditors, effect of inflation on lower state of the society, effect of inflation or currency, effect of inflation or overall exports. So all these things will be studying under inflation. Then under macroeconomics, we'll also be talking about, afterwards we'll be talking about money and banking. Under money and banking, I'll be telling you, exploring different dimensions of the functions of money. What do you mean by static functions of money? What are the different forms of money? What are the dynamic functions of money? What are the reasons behind demand for money? What is the measure of money supply? What do you mean by M0? What do you mean by M1, M2, M3, M4, NM1, NM2, NM3, L1, L2, L3? These are different measures of money supply which we'll be discussing. Apart from it, we'll also be talking about banking. In terms of banking, I'll be discussing with you the meaning of bank. I'll be also talking about what are the role of regulator called RBI in India. What are the functions of RBI? What are different monetary policy tools? I'll also be talking about current affairs. Like recently, you must be knowing that RBI has increased the repo rate by 50 BPS points. Then what will be the impact of this increase in repo rate by RBI on industry, on consumers? All these things we'll be discussing. Then we'll also be talking about different issues being faced by banking industry. We will also be talking about insolvency and bankruptcy code. We'll also be talking about the increasing NPAs of banking sector or particular banks. We'll also be talking about different frauds which are taking place under banking sector. So these current topics will go on and on. because you never know that when new frauds will come, when new things will happen in banking sector, and that will definitely will be part of our lectures. So as and when things will change, definitely, I mean, current topics are added daily depending upon the importance of that particular issue from UPSC perspective. Once banking is done, I'll be talking about public finance. In public finance, we'll be talking about taxation. We'll be talking about overall budget. I'll be talking about components of budget. Under taxation, I'll be teaching you different forms of tax. What do you mean by progressive tax? What do you mean by regressive tax? What do you mean by proportionate tax? What do you mean by tax base? What do you mean by incidence of a tax? What do you mean by impact of a tax? What is the difference between direct tax and indirect tax? Then we'll be talking about different components of budget. What do you mean by revenue receipts? What do you mean by capital receipts? What do you mean by revenue expenditure? What do you mean by capital expenditure? What are the different forms of deficits? What do you mean by revenue deficits? What do you mean by budgetary deficits? What do you mean by fiscal deficits? What do you mean by private deficits? So different forms of deficits also will be talking about. And under this, we'll also be analyzing that what is the current situation of fiscal deficits as far as our economy is concerned, and whether it is tolerable or not, whether that is sustainable or not, that also will be talking about. And we'll also be talking about to what extent we need to, we need to control our fiscal deficit. Then once fiscal deficit discussion gets over, then we'll also be talking about debt position of a particular government, because you must be knowing that world around, different economies are facing the problem of debt. You must have read the newspaper and you will come across that how Sri Lanka is struggling, how Maldives is struggling, how Pakistan is struggling, how now you will be getting the news in a week or two, how Great Britain is struggling. So overall, debt of these governments has increased to a larger extent that becomes very difficult for those economics to manage. And that's why we need to understand this debt position of government of India. From our country perspective also, we need to study what are the different components of public debt. What do you mean by internal debt? What do you mean by external debt? How debt sustainability? What are the indicators to understand debt sustainability? Will be all together will be studying in detail under public finance. Once public finance is done, then we'll also be talking about foreign exchange market and balance of payment. We'll be talking about what are the reasons behind currency appreciation, what are the reasons behind currency depreciation, how exchange rate is being determined. When we say $1 is equal to 81 or $1 is equal to 80, what does this means? You can ask me that, sir, recently why our currency has depreciated to a larger extent, wherein we are saying that it has crossed $1 is equal to 81 rupees. What can be the reasons? All these different facets of foreign exchange market will be discussing during the lectures. Once it gets over, we'll be talking about balance of payment. Under balance of payment, different transactions which take place from one economy to another, that will be studying under different heads called current account, capital account, errors and omissions, overall BOP balance, international liquidity movements. All these things will be discussing under balance of payment. Once this topic is done, then we'll be switching over to financial markets. We need to study money market and capital market also. We need to study how the stock market performs. What does this mean when our stock market or when our Sensex is crossing 60,000? What does this mean? And when our Sensex is tumbling to less than 60,000, what does this mean? What do you mean by Nifty? What is the difference between BSE and NSE? What is the difference between bull and bear? What do you mean by insider trading? What do you mean by buyback of shares? All these things will be studying under financial markets. These topics which I discussed with you all are largely the topics which will define your concepts of understanding economics. So in economics, when I'll be taking up the classes, it's not pre-cum mains or mains cum pre, it simply comes concepts first. It simply means concept first. So each and everything will be taught to you, first of all, which can build or rebuild your concepts in economics. Then only you will be in a better position to absorb the topic related to mains. Unless and until your concepts are not clear, you may not be able to understand the topics related to mains. And that's why first and foremost, care is being taken at Unique Academy that your conceptual understanding of economics is build and rebuild here, first of all, and then we'll be taking up, your topics related to mains GS paper 3. So under mains GS paper 3, I'll be teaching you, which will largely part of Indian economy. We'll be talking about all the different facets of Indian economy, right from 1947. The way Indian economy has progressed from 1947 till date, we'll be talking about. And under that, each and everything about agriculture, crops and cropping pattern, subsidies, supply chain management, food processing, each and everything will be discussed. Apart from it, there will be certain social issues topics also, like poverty and unemployment, that also will be discussed. We'll also be discussing about different 5-year plans, right from India's independence till 12 5-year plan. All these 5-year plans you will be taught. Apart from it, we'll also be discussing about inclusive growth. We'll also be taught about resource mobilization. We'll also be taught about investment models. All these things will be part of your GS paper 3. And at last, we'll also be taught about international financial institutions like World Bank, IMF, WTO, because there are a lot of technical issues with the WTO. You need to understand that in detail. There are many legal terms also, which becomes very difficult for a student to understand. So that's what will also be covered. And last but not the least, each and every topic which I discussed just now will be added with current affairs related to that particular topic. So there can be in economics, there is, whether you take admission or not, I must tell you that I have Indian Economic Mentoring Program also. So this is open and free for all these students, where you can come and you can ask me any doubt related to economics, and you can practice your answers also. So what I'm trying to, where I'm heading, that in those particular sessions, current affairs are being done. So current affair topics are discussed, but then when you will be taking admission, that will be discussed on a very comprehensive note, because we'll be meeting regularly. So current affairs in economics means a lot for 2 UPSC students, because this is the subject wherein most of the students struggle in order to understand current affairs. So anything, any development which has taken place in the world economy, so definitely that becomes part of your exercise also, and you need to understand. If something happens in Sri Lanka, you need to know. If something happens in USA, you need to understand. If any crisis happens with Great Britain in the near future, that also you need to understand. If India signs an agreement with USA or Japan or any other country, you need to understand. If the problem of unemployment or the unemployment rate in the country has increased, that also become a point of point to study. So anything and everything which is happening in and around you, directly, indirectly, will become part of economics. And that's why you need to cover those on a very comprehensive note. So each and everything will be covered. It's not that this is your demo lecture and I am saying this. When I'm saying this, I'm committed towards it also. You can ask me from my students in the previous batches also, that whatever Kumar sir commits, whether he fulfills or not, whenever he promises, each and everything what I am telling you, that will be covered in the class. So whatever topic which I have covered you just now, the insights, I'm considering that will be taken up in detail when we'll be commencing the regular lectures. Once these things are being done, your conceptual part is being done. Then your topics related to GS paper 3 mains is being done. Current affairs topics are being discussed. I think now you'll be in a better position to understand economics better, and then we'll be encouraging you to write answers. Practice answers writing, because there are many students who have very good understanding about this subject also, but unless and until you develop your writing skills, you may not be able to score good marks in mains. And that's why under mentoring programs also, or otherwise also, I mean, we do have specific classes wherein we'll be encouraging you to have practice sessions so that you can develop the art of writing good. Understood? So that's what will be the last part of our package as far as this particular subject is concerned, because most of the time the students struggle largely in this particular subject only as far as writing is concerned. So these are all about what will be following and what will not be following. The second part of the discussion will be the books or study materials which you will be following. You must have been told also, and I'm also repeating the same thing, that for this particular subject, reading newspapers and magazines should be primary part. It should not be taken as second. Trust me, when you read newspapers and when you read magazines, so definitely you get a comprehensive note of that particular topic. So if you are reading a particular topic from a book, from a magazine, from a newspaper, so definitely you are not only updating yourself, but at the same time, you are getting to know different dimensions, different views of a particular subject or particular topic. In economics, the subject is very dynamic, and the questions which is being asked in UPSC, that also is largely dynamic. It means current based. So if you do not develop the habit of reading newspapers, magazines, so mind it, you are making a big blunder. Some of your friends may give you suggestion that before exams, read the newspapers of the previous 6 months and the work will be done. Please do not take that risk. Understood? Why? Because it's not an exam where you need to pass or fail. It's an exam wherein the more you'll be scoring, the more better it will be for you in terms of rank or in terms of, entering into the list of successful students. So when you are developing a broader view of a particular topic, so that will not only help you in GS paper 3, but that will help you in writing paper under social issues. That will help you in your essay also, and that definitely is going to help you in your interview also, because by now your thoughts are more mature, because you have gone through a lot of study material, a lot of research journals, a lot of dimension, and you have developed a very comprehensive view of a particular subject. When you are reading a particular book, remember, when you are reading a book, you are getting to know one dimension of a particular concept. But when you are reading magazines and newspapers on a continuous basis, you are getting to know different dimensions. And this is the expectation of UPSC from students. So this is the expectation that if I'm talking about poverty, if our society is facing a particular problem, so whether the students are having divergent views about that particular topic or that particular issue or not. If the farmers are committing suicide, whether you do have different dimensions of this particular issue or not, so that it will come out with different solutions. So unless and until you will be referring newspapers and magazines, you will not be getting, different dimensions of a particular topic. Remember, it's not a PG or UG exam. It's an exam wherein the more you will score, the better will be the prospect. So when you want to be in the top 100, you need to develop a very, very comprehensive and wider view of each and every topic, each and every issue being faced by the economy and society at large. Now the question comes, which newspaper? You can start with Indian Express. I'm not saying that directly you hit at Economic Times or Financial Express, but then start with Indian Express. And once you are done with your conceptual part in the class, so definitely, slowly, gradually, you can switch over to, Economic Times or, Financial Express also. Even though you are not going for Financial Express and Economic Times, and if you are able to understand Indian Express also, so that is fine for you, because you are not going to opt economics as an option. Now, your question to me is that इस जो बिजनेस आर्टिकल हम लोग पढ़ते हैं और इकोनॉमिक्स के आर्टिकल पढ़ते हैं ना, तो there is a lot of time consumption, and after that, when we start monitoring कि कितना समझ में आया, तो पता चलता है कि कुछ भी समझ में नहीं. That is the harsh reality. No doubt I am accepting this, but then I am also making a promise that once you start from the day one reading it, Indian Express, you start from the day one reading economics article, and you will start attending lectures and lectures pertaining to the concept building. By the time I'll be completing all the concepts, I can assure you that you will be in a position to read, understand 50 to 60% of the article which you are studying. The reason why you are not able to understand, the reason why reading newspaper is a time consuming, because you do not have the clarity about the concepts. The moment you will have clarity, the moment you will have, you will start applying the concepts, you will start understanding the articles also, and then only you will be developing interest in this particular subject. And once you develop interest, trust me, this will be the subject which will give you a lot of inner satisfaction and will make you smart also. Most of the time you must have experienced that largely people discuss politics. Then discuss whether Thackeray government was successful or Sindhi government is successful, whether Modi ji is successful or whether Manmohan Singh ji was successful. But they do not, very few people discuss their policies. You know, average and above average people only discuss policies and economics, while 90% of the people discuss politics. So when you really want to become smart, trust me, smart means, let's say, if somebody is discussing with you when you are moving, when you are going to a particular platform, public platform, and if somebody is discussing about why India is facing currency depreciation, and you become a part of it, discussing the different regions behind currency depreciation, I'll tell you, people will start respecting you, and your judgment will make you smart, not your dress. And that's why I'm trying to tell you that understanding economics will differentiate you from the crowd. And that's why I told you that at the initial stage, I do agree that when you'll be reading newspapers, you'll be cursing me, you'll be cursing the newspaper, and you'll be cursing economics. But then I'm also keeping a promise that do attend all the concept-based lectures and then tell me if you have done it seriously, you will love me, you will love the subject, and you will love the newspaper also. It's all about whether you are understanding or not. Remember, I also accept the fact that as compared to other subjects, understanding economics, is not that easy, but at the same time, it's not that difficult also. You need to put in certain extra efforts. I'll be there with you in the class. You ask me 100 times of a particular concept. Trust me, close the gate, I'll not know. The thing is that you need to ask. You need to ask as many times as possible. I'll be there. So, as far as newspaper and magazines are concerned, that should be your priority, topmost priority, as far as scoring good marks in GS paper 3 and performing good in economics is concerned. Once you start developing interest, then I can bet on it that you do not require me. You can manage your doubts on your own. Is it fine, dear? All of you? Next, about books. Most of the time, you come with a flavor of, sir, I have read Rameshan. I have read Sri Ram and Jairam. I have read Sanjeev Verma. My question to them is, you have read what you have understood. To what extent you have understood? What is your understanding level? See, it's not all about reading a particular book. It's all about to what extent you have understood the concepts. So if you take admission, I'll never ask you to read a book. Whatever the notes which I'll be giving to you, whatever the concepts which I'll be discussing with you, whatever the study material will be provided by the academy, written by me, and whatever the class notes which I'll be giving to you, along with NCERT, micro, macro, and Indian economic development, I'll not ask anything to read. So, the class notes, other study material being given by the academy, 11th and 12th NCERT books on economics, that's what you need to study. If you go by this, so definitely there will not be any question which you may not be in a position to solve. However, I'm not saying that your problem will be solved by 100% because nobody can challenge UPSC. But what I can say that, you will be in a position to solve 90% of the questions definitely. And I'm also assuming that previously I told you to go for newspaper reading and magazine study. So if you are done with this, if you are confident that, so I know each and everything of the NCERT, macroeconomics and Indian economic development, and I have revised your notes to, twice, then you will be coming to me, as I told you, the more will be scored, the better it will be prospects. So I'll be giving you not a particular book, but I'll be giving you different articles, different dimensions of a particular topic to read. But then for that, minimum criteria is you need to go through all all the texts which I told just now. So once you are done, you come with me. I'll not ask you to go for Sanjeev Verma. I'll not ask you to go for one or the other book. I may ask you to read book by Uma Kapila. I may ask you to read different research articles on poverty, unemployment, agricultural issues, and I'll be giving you articles once you are done with the fundamentals. And that's what is required today. So this was all about newspapers and books. Any question based on this? You should start with the first lecture which I will be taking. No need. Initial. 11, 12. That's what. To all, irrespective whether you know economics or do not know economics, the minimum criteria I have already told you. That will be the total requirement as far as the subject preparation is concerned. Understood? Next part of our discussion should be, now what did we discuss initially? I told you insights about this particular subject, the meaning of this particular subject. Then we discussed about study materials which will be following. The third component is a general part about economics, considering its technical nature. My dear students, as I told you that economics will be requiring a little bit extra efforts. That's true. You know, if you are really serious about UPSC, that it should not be that you have liking for one subject or you have disliking for some other. In GS, you cannot marry one subject, you have to marry different subjects at a time. And once you are married, you have to love it also. So tell me, in your graduation or PG, I like history, I don't like economics, I hate economics teacher like anything. Most of the time it happens. I like mathematics, I don't like history. See, there should not be discrimination between whether you like white or whether you like black. You have to like both black and white. So in GS, when you want to score good marks, and that's why I told you, you need to marry all these subjects of GS. Understood? So मैंने क्या बताया कि once you are marrying, whether you like or don't like, you have to love it. Understood? That's what should be your approach towards different subjects of GS also. देखो, this is quite natural कि बचपन में तुम्हें कोई सब्जेक्ट बहुत अच्छा लगता था तो तुम उसको बार बार सॉल्व करते थे और तुम्हारे लिए और भी इजी हो जाता था क्योंकि तुमने बहुत ज्यादा प्रैक्टिस किया उसमें। और एक सब्जेक्ट जो तुमको कभी अच्छा नहीं लगा, आप उसको छोड़ देते थे तो कभी आपका अच्छा नहीं हुआ। क्यों? क्योंकि you moved away from that particular subject. Remember, when you love someone, so you need to go near to it, not far away from it. When you have to like someone, when you go near to it, then only you can attract him or her, or for that matter, a particular subject. When you will be moving apart, so definitely that subject or that individual will always be difficult for you to absorb. For similarly, this subject, though it's technical, though it requires certain extra efforts, but really, if you are really serious about UPSC, I mean, if you will be reading this particular subject over a period of time, I told you that you will be able to start understanding. And once you will start understanding now, trust me, initially, you will be, getting to know all, each and everything about it. Once that is done now, you develop interest into it. And I'll tell you, I've told you also, you do not require me there. And once that is done now, I'll tell you, once that is done, your scores in interview, your scores in international topics related to international relations, your scores in essay, your scores in social issues, all will also increase. Because most of the topics pertaining to, essay, most of the topics pertaining to social issues or international relations has economic dimension. And that's what makes this subject very, very important. Is it fine? All of you? Now, going forward, what should be your approach of preparation? What should be your strategy of preparation? First, concepts. Understood? Then, along with the concepts, your these are 5 things which you need to do. So first of all, you will be focusing upon concept building. At the same time, you'll be going through reading newspapers and magazines. Simultaneously, you will be following NCERT books, class notes. Once this is being done, then topics related to GS paper 3, you need to start covering. And then once that is done, you need to write answers. Now, what you should not do, that is also very, very important. You know, there is something called road models and role models. You know, road models. जिसको हम लोग रोड छाप कहते हैं. And there are role models also. So, never pick any book based on your friend's philosophy. मैंने आपको बता दिया क्या पढ़ना है क्या नहीं पढ़ना. Most of the times, students come to me and they show me a magazine wherein in 15 to 20 pages, each and everything about economy is given. And leaving this apart, you will start giving importance to those 20 pages notes. And you will end up nowhere. You are completely in a sky, only tumbling like pendulum. Trust me. Preparation of UPSC needs a comprehensive approach. अगर उस 20 पेजेस को नोट्स को पढ़कर कोई इकोनॉमिक्स लिख लेता तो मेरी क्या जरूरत रहती? Understood? Never do that. Tell you, giving or having a unidimensional view in economics will let you nowhere. You can well expect, wherein I am saying you have to study too much, how this study can be limited to 20 pages. So please do not refer such notes. Do not refer any note or do not refer any book कि उसको किसी ने कहा था. Do not refer any book based on the assumption कि उसको समझ में आ रहा है तो तुम्हें भी समझ में. Please stick to what I have said. Don't refer anybody notes. I'll be also telling you how to prepare notes on yourself, and your notes will be the best notes. I'll also be telling you how you can take extracts from newspaper, but that I'll not be telling you at the initial stage. I'll be telling you at a stage wherein you have understood the concepts, and then only you can start making notes. Making notes does not mean that you start copying the extracts of newspaper. Making notes means you have read the newspaper, you have understood the articles, and then you are writing the summary of that article in your own words. That's what should be your notes. And that you cannot start with at the initial stage. So what I'm trying to tell you, you should be sticking to what I have told you. Please do not refer anything which is not being told to you. Your friends, for your friend, that book must be good because each understanding level or depth of the subject is different from you, which may not suit you. What suits your friend is not a guarantee that will always suit you also. So never follow that. Whatever will be given to you, that will be more than enough for you for your preparation. Understood? Next important point which you should not do is never compare your friend. Never compare yourself with your friend. See, an individual ability to understand, conceptualize, memorize differs from person to person. An individual body capability is also different. So if I'm saying my friend that he's starting for 14 hours, so I'm competing with him, and though I'm feeling sleepy and dizziness, but my books are open and I'm trying to compete with it, finally I didn't get anything. So never do that, such kind of competition. Sleep, have a good sleep. Also, be normal. Don't be over enthused about your UPSC preparation. Don't be too much excited also, that will create problem also. Be a normal student, do normal study. Your focus only thing is that your primary first and last objective is UPSC only. Don't be too much emotional also about social developments or developments at your family front. We know we are human beings, but at the same time, we need to control ourselves also. So for 2 to 3 years or next 2 to 3 years, try to delink yourself from your social circle. Don't involve too much. किसकी शादी है, उनकी शादी है, जब तक तुम्हारी शादी नहीं हुई, don't bother. दूसरे की शादी हो तो हो जाएगी ना, तुम्हारे नहीं जाने जाने से उनकी शादी थोड़ी रुकेगी. तुम्हारी शादी में तुम्हारी इंपॉर्टेंस जरूरी. So unless until, और तुम्हारी शादी कब होगी? यूपीएससी करने के बाद ही ना. Understood what I'm trying to tell you? I'm trying to make you a serious contention that there will be so many social functions which will be taking place. Please, for certain time period, you try to, de-link yourself from that, because that diverts your attention, concentration. At the same time, you may be facing certain issues कि फैमिली में किसको चैलेंज हो गया, कोई बीमार है. देखो, बीमार है तो तुम डॉक्टर नहीं हो. You can consult your friend there, relative there, to take him or her to a doctor rather than you becoming a doctor. Understood? So don't be too much emotional on that only. You need to be wise enough to balance the things. That's what I mean to say, because your time is very, very crucial, precious, important, and time management is also one of the key for UPSC success. As far as economics or this particular subject is concerned, you need to be regular in lectures and don't bunk lecture for one or the other reason कि मैं बीमार पड़ गया या फिर कुछ प्रॉब्लम है. Trust me, if you are leaving one lecture, if you are not able to attend one lecture, the next lecture will be linked with the previous lecture and you may find difficulty in understanding second lecture or next lecture. And that's why I told you that when you are taking admission, see that you are able to attend all the lectures so that overall, you have understood the concept and in depth of each and every topic. Most of the time, if I am teaching you budget, so budget lectures on budget cannot be covered in 2 hours. So that may take 6 to 8 hours also. So if in between you are missing one or the other lecture, you will not be able to easily get the overall concept of this particular topic, or you may find difficulty in understanding. So never try to break the link. That's why I told you, try to delink yourself from the social affairs or societal affairs or social circles. Because most of the time, when you are not attending lectures, this may be one or the other reasons behind it. So please consider this to be a very serious or from a very, consider this to be very important as far as your UPSC preparation is concerned, and never ignore your health. That also you should not do. Never ignore your health. Your health is also very, very precious as far as UPSC preparation is concerned. And that's why take care of your health also. Eat good food. Don't eat too much outside. As far as possible, you can manage. At this stage, you can manage very well. So taking care of your health also becomes one of the important strategies. So what I'm trying to tell you, as far as don't do exercise is concerned, don't follow your friend's philosophy. As far as selection of books is concerned or magazine is concerned, whatever has been told to you, stick to that book solely. Don't refer any magazine which has 20 pages notes on Indian economy, and if you are being told that each and everything is being covered, how that can be covered when I'm telling you that I'll be teaching you this subject in detail? Please do not refer that. You will not be able to solve a single question by referring that, and that will be wastage of time. Third important point I'll tell you, don't compare yourself with your friends as far as his study, his strategy is concerned. All of us are unique. Our capabilities are unique. Our analytical skills are unique. our analytical bent of mind is unique. So memorizing capacity is unique. So definitely we need not to compare. We need to make our own strategy because we know our strength, we know our weaknesses, and depending upon it, we can make our own strategy. As far as study is concerned. So I will not be comparing my friend whether he's studying for 14 hours or 16 hours. If my body is allowing that, I can prepare, I can study only for 12 hours, but I'll see to it that at each and every point of time, I'm largely focused, concentrated as far as 12 hours. मैं तो बोलता हूँ, if you study for 8 to 10 hours also on a serious note, you can easily make it. But then 8 to 10 hours means a lot. Next point I told you, don't ignore your health. So this was your don'ts part. So again, we started with insights about economics. Then I told you different books and magazines, study materials. Then I told you that what are the 5 things which you need to focus upon. And then I talked to you about, do's and don'ts about this particular subject as far as UPSC preparation is concerned. The time permits me to tell you about importance of current affairs. So, highlighting you the importance of current affairs. See, today most of the newspapers are talking about that next year the world will be heading towards recession. So tell me, as an UPSC student or aspirant, you need to understand that since newspapers are talking about the global economy heading for recession, so don't you think you should understand what is the reality behind it, truth behind it? You should understand the different macroeconomic developments taking place in different economies of the world, which can help you understanding that what can be the reasons behind this recession, what are the problems with the global economy, and what can be the impact of this recession. In between this, we also have to study what is India's position. What is India's position? So, our understanding should be that what is the situation with USA? US is the largest economy in the world. If world is heading towards a recession, it means we can think about that there can be certain problems with USA even. What is this challenge with China? China is also one of the largest economy. And when the global economy is heading towards recession, China, what is this China role? To what extent China is responsible or its economy is responsible? What is the reality today as far as Chinese economy is concerned? What are the problems with European economies? How does Britain performing? What is this reason behind why UK is going to face a severe economic crisis? What was the impact of Russian-Ukraine war on these economies heading towards recession? What is the problem with Hungary? What is the problem with African economies? So we need to study different geographical pockets in different parts of the world so as to develop our understanding about whether the world economy is heading towards recession or not. Apart from it, we need to understand to what extent we will be influenced in India. What are our development parameters or economic parameters? Why the world analysts behind all these recessionary trends, they are considering India and Indian economy will be a silver lining. Why they are considering India to be a superstar or Indian economy to be a superstar? So as to assess why, when the world economy is going to heading for recession, the futures of Indian economy as conveyed by the different analysts seems to be bright. To what extent it is bright? To what extent will be affected? What are our macroeconomic variables? Don't you think when world economy will be affected, our exports to those economies will also be affected? Don't you think in India also there is a serious problem of, serious problem of food prices? RBI is increasing interest rates time and again. Don't you think that will affect our growth also? So what is the reality behind Indian economy? Whether with these challenges we can be a superstar or not, that's what is the point of analysis. Now, trust me, if in a single topic, the topic was whether the world economy is heading towards recession or not, what did we understand? What did we discuss? We discussed a lot of things, right from US economy to UK economy, to European economy, to Indian economy, African economy, Chinese economy. And we try to understand Indian economic fundamentals also. In a single topic, you largely get to know the broader dimensions of how the world economy is performing and how the performance will be in future, so as to conclude whether in reality we'll be heading towards recession or not. See, don't you think we'll be getting to know different dimensions of global economy by this? So that's what is the importance of current affairs. I also tell you the next topic of discussion in mentoring program on Sunday. You get to try to get informations related to this from our e-learning department, and you also can come and join for those discussions. So next topic I'll be discussing on global economy also. So you can come, and since you will be part of Unique Academy, you'll be free to join. So this is also, so that's what I'm trying to tell you. This is the importance of current affairs. Understood? So this is all about me for today. Now the forum is open for you all to ask question Q&A. So ask me questions, any individual questions which you want to answer, which you want to answer for this. Any question, individual questions can be asked. My dear friends, those who are online, you can ask me questions if you want. The next 10 minutes will be question answers only. Hello. Those students who are online, if you have any query, you can ask me. But your questions should be pertaining to my subject. All of you, those who are offline? Okay, dear. Any question from your side? Anything? Your expectations? So I need to conclude the session then. So concluding, I want to tell you about what you should do, what we discussed. In the first part, I told you that economics is all about how best we can make optimum use of resources so as to manage our unlimited wants. And one of the way I told you that it is by prioritizing or making choices. We also discuss whether we as an individual or an organization or as an economy, each of one of us at our own level struggles with limited resources, and that's why there is a need to make optimum use of limited resources. I told you that the central problem being faced by any economy is not poverty, not unemployment, not inflation, but the central problem being faced by any economy is limited resources. I also told you that overall economics can be broadly categorized into two major heads. One is microeconomics and macroeconomics. I also taught you that under microeconomics, the subject matter involves pertaining to an individual consumer or an individual producer and the factors which influences that individual consumer or individual producer. In macroeconomics, I told you, we study aggregate concepts like aggregate demand, aggregate supply. Our study in macroeconomics is not only pertaining to or limited to one individual consumer, but all the consumers in India, all the producers in India. And I told you that when you are talking about poverty, when you are talking about unemployment, when you are talking about inflation, when you are talking about currency depreciation, these are the topics, these are the issues which to be discussed not from an individual point of view, from the overall economic perspective, country perspective, and that's what that becomes the part of macroeconomics. So the reasons behind why our country's fiscal deficit is increasing, the reason behind why our country's currency is depreciating, the reason behind why our farmers are committing suicide, the reasons why our irrigation infrastructure is very poor, the answers to it lies in macroeconomics. The second part of our discussion focused upon the notes, books, and other study materials which we will be covering. In a straightforward, I told you that when you'll be taking admission over here, you need to follow the class notes, you need to follow the study materials being given by the academy, and apart from it, you need to refer 11th and 12th NCERT books. After this, there is no need if you are really confident about reading the defined textbooks which I told you or text which I told you, then the academy or I'll be giving you, lot of topics, lot of study materials pertaining to different issues being faced by the economy. Then I told you what you need to do and what you do not do. Then afterwards, I also told you what are the 5 important things which you need to follow. First of all, I told you that you need to develop your concepts. Then I told you need to refer NCERT books, then or class notes. Then third, I told you that you need to develop a habit of reading newspapers and magazines. Fourth, I told you then you will be going for GS 3 topics, and the 5th one was then you will be going for writing answers. Last part we covered was what you should not do. I told you you should not waste your time. You should prioritize your activities also. You should not ignore your health, and you should not compare yourself or your capability with your friends. So that's all for today. Thank you so much. And I hope to see you all in my lectures also. So good luck, all the best to you. Thank you so much.